This message is for Chaz and David Lee Scales. This is Beach Creek commentator Calm Turin. This is what I actually sound like in real life, and I have submitted for you, respectfully, a poem. It's entitled Big Scary Slabs, and it's dedicated to the esteemed Felipe Toledo. Do you surf Big Scary Slabs? I do not surf them, Brazo fans. I do not surf Big Scary Slabs. Would you surf them here or there? I would not surf them here or there. I would not surf them anywhere. I do not surf Big Scary Slabs. I do not surf them, Brazo fans. Would you surf them in Indo? What about with Coco Ho? I would not surf them in Indo. I would not surf them with Coco. I do not surf them here or there. I do not surf them anywhere. I do not surf Big Scary Slabs. I do not surf them, Brazo fans. Would you surf them at the box? Would you surf them at Cyclops? Not at the box, not at Cyclops, not in Indo, not with Coco. I would not surf them here or there. I would not surf them anywhere. I would not surf Big Scary Slabs. I do not surf them, Brazo fans. Would you? Could you? At Teapuhohoho. Surf them, have a go. I would not, could not at Teapuhohoho. You may like them, you will see. You may surf them like Noah Dean. I would not, could not like Noah Dean. Not at Teapuhohoho. You let me be. I do not surf them at the box. I'm scared of 8-foot snapper rocks. I do not surf them in Indo. If there's a ledge, I just won't go. I do not surf them here or there. I'd rather do a couple airs. I do not surf Big Scary Slabs. I do not surf them, Brazo fans. Could you, would you, with the goat? I would not, could not with the goat. Would you, could you, if you were Toad? I could not, would not, if even Toad. You've seen I could not with the goat. I do not surf Big Scary Slabs. I do not surf them, Brazo fans. I sincerely hope this has been a pleasure for the both of you and for all of the listeners. Keep up the work and bon voyage.
It's the grit. It is September 8th, opening window of finals day 2023. Chaz Smith, welcome.
Artists we have, David Lee. We have artists as friends, as listeners, as contributors, artists.
It's pretty impressive. I got midway through the call and I'm like, I see where it's going. It's, I get it. But then he'd deliver a new line and I'm like, that's actually hilarious. And it just kind of continued to punch the whole way through.
I mean, it was well thought out, not just, taking a Dr. Seuss classic and flipping it, but yeah, well thought out, each line.
Really, really well done. Thank you, Calm Turin, if that's really you.
Calm Turin, bravo.
Is your mic, it seems like it's far away from your mouth.
I'm trying to sort my thing out here. What if I just hold it? Is this better?
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to start doing from now on. I don't know why I don't do this always.
It actually doesn't sound any different. Is it even pulling? Is the audio source pulling from that?
Should be. Hold on. Mic. No, that's the problem, David Lee Scales. You can mute while recording, but you can't switch mics. Okay, do we have to...
Do you want to leave the studio and come back, maybe?
I'm going to leave I'm going to step outside for a moment, David Lee Scales. Hold on.
Let's do it.
Check. 1, 2, 3. There we go.
That sounds better.
Boom. Yes, I love technology.
Well, all the finals, Felipe Toledo included, all the finals day surfers are probably in the water right now as we record this out at Lower Trestles.
Do they get another free practice day right shoved in the face of all the locals, David Lee Scales?
I've only seen one scheduled, and so I don't think so.
How would you feel? Now, I didn't hear much about this, or for those who don't know, yesterday, the World Surf League pulled their Bigfoot, and I'm sure they have, they must have more than one, or clearly they have more than one day licensed down there, or that they have the, the permitted. So maybe 2, maybe this is new. I don't remember them doing this last year, right?
I don't remember doing this last year either.
So
or anywhere ever.
No. So what they did was they kicked everybody out of the water to let the surfers in the final 5, both 5 men and 5 women, practice at Lower Trestles. It was a practice session. And they did not broadcast it themselves, did they? Or were they doing it? Yeah, so they did not broadcast, but the epically wonderful Joe Alini and crew at Couchsurfing did set up cameras and commentated over the top of it.
Yeah, so I don't know. You're right. I don't know if it was a permit situation. Like, I never saw the word permit used. Surfline did mention on Thursday from 9 to 12, the WSL will be holding a practice session, but they didn't say it was closed. So it could have just been a courtesy thing, you know, where the lifeguards say, would you please move out of the water or whatever.
Who's going to be courteous at lower trestles?
I think a lot of people would be, you know, like to be honest, your question I understand, which is if you're a local and the swell arrives, are you going to vacate the water? Or would you be angry that they made you vacate the water?
Be furious, I'd imagine.
A lot of people would. I mean, the hardcore lokes there, the old school dudes that hang out, you know, in the driftwood hut at uppers and stuff like that, those guys will be pissed. But I personally be like, look, the Championship Tour surfers coming to our local break is literally a once in a year thing. And these are the best surfers in the world. I'm down to watch. I'm down to get out, watch. It was 3 hours. It wasn't the entire day. And I'd be down to contribute that, my own kind of time out of the water, because it's better for finals day itself. Like, these athletes could use practice. They would benefit from practice. The surfing on finals day will be better and more entertaining if they have access to this. They're not asking for a lot. I'm down to give it to them.
Guess who would not get out of the water, David Lee Scales?
You.
This guy right here would just say, nope, you guys make me. And so clearly they did make them, right? Because there's a lot of me down there, I would imagine. A lot of like, heck no, I came down here, paddled out, I'm in the lineup, I'm not leaving. So I'd imagine that they either applied for and received a separate, like, you know, again, since they have the holding window and usually an event doesn't run in one day. And so I bet with the city of San Clemente, as part of the permit, they either didn't cash it in last year and decided to this year because there was better waves, but for whatever reason, for sure it was permitted.
I remember one time Gabriel Medina, 12 years ago, before he was on the CT, when he was super young, showed up at the US Open. He got ticketed for surfing adjacent to the contest zone. It was actually he must have got a ticket for being in the contest zone, but everybody was surfing the pier bowl. And then like on the far south, you know, the buoy or the anchor marker is 300 yards down the beach and nobody in the contest surfs down there. And there was a little peak there. So he was just practice surfing out there. Freaking lifeguards gave him a ticket on the beach when he came in.
Amazing. I totally remember that too. And I'm surprised if Gabriel Medina was there yesterday at lower trestles, he would have not vacated the lineup for Felipe and gang.
And he might have smoked everybody.
I mean, he would have been there. I mean, he should have just paddled into the practice session anyways, just to show him how it's done.
So obviously we're split on this, but I'm all for this practice session. I think this needs to happen elsewhere in the world. They need to structure it. And again, for 10 people. The tour's too bloated. You don't want 32 people because it's no different than if lowers was just open. But if you get the pointy end of the draw or a smaller tour, and then have these opportunities for people to practice so that by the time they actually paddle out for the heat, we're just seeing red hot, no elimination rounds, action-packed, one day, one swell, boom.
I hear what you're saying, except those guys are also out there every day in crowded up or lowers, snaking and getting their waves, right? There's a professional surfer never has any problem getting his or her waves, typically.
It becomes a slalom course of dodging Barneys in the lineup.
That's okay. That's good for the quick muscle reflex, good for the twitch. I figure, especially at a place like lowers, like I could see, no, I'm not even going to anger the Tirahohopu locals this way, or definitely not the pipeline locals. Yeah, no practice. You get no practice. Get in. Perform for me.
In the scenario that I'm painting, though, it would be a shorter event, you know, like, so in the scenario that you're talking about, they are blocking the lineup for 3 or 4 or 5 days because the tour's 6. So because it's too bloated. I'm saying we're not going to do that. We're going to take it for 1 day and then a 3-hour practice session additionally. So you're netting better in the end.
Yeah. And I could see them selling that. Great. Love it.
Yeah.
Team David Lee on this one and sell it that way, right? Say, hey, we used to take our event window used to be, our holding window used to be 10 days. And they're allowed to run in every bit of that holding window, right?
Yes.
I mean, I think it's permitted for all those days. And so they could run 2 hours, 2 hours. They could run 2 hours over 10 days.
Yep.
Where they could tell the Lokes, we're giving you back huge amounts. We're going to shorten our window down to like 4 days. And we are going to have 1 practice day and 1 finish day. Or 2 finish days.
Well, not to bury the lead, but the Alani Media running the couch surfing was also a huge, it was the coolest thing ever. Kind of shocking that the WSL wouldn't be broadcasting it, but Alani Media ran a flawless broadcast. There were 0 glitches. They caught multiple angles, virtually every ride. There were some split peaks where they kind of went with one instead of the other, but they had replays queued up instantly. The commentary was actually very refreshing because it was raw. It wasn't scripted. It wasn't, I don't want to say it wasn't professional, because those guys actually are super insightful and understand surfing at a level that any of the professional commentators on the WSL do, but it wasn't as polished, which actually made it better.
Yeah, of course. Who wants the standard broadcast voice of Joe Turpel, and all of that is got a fine enough voice, besides it just being grating over the years. But nobody. It's surfing, people. It's surfing, for pity's sake. NFL broadcasts are more raw, right? Like a Tony Romo will say something off the cuff, where you never ever hear a WSL announcer say anything off the cuff, which talk about enough. But yeah, Alani, again, cheers to those guys.
Well, interestingly, they had Joe Turpel on the couch early in the day, and Turpel was great. Turpel was rawer than we're used to seeing him.
Well, that's the thing too, I know this from, or people who know Joe well will always tell me, hey, he's a great guy who has an encyclopedic knowledge of surfing. He is actually the guy, right, to do this, which I only dispute by what we see every single broadcast, every single World Surf League event, which may just be the World Surf League. It's maybe his handcuffs, and if you let Joe go, free the Joe, then we'd be fine. And Joe is a straight man. I don't even have a problem with. If Joe is just there being Joe, but you have any kind of interesting color off to the side, who's throwing hot takes, who's, saying controversial things, who's really being opinionated, then Joe works. But when Joe is vanilla, and then every other broadcaster is vanilla, scooped on top of Joe, then that doesn't work.
Well, here's the other huge unlock by the Alani brothers, or Alani Media, was incorporating viewers' real-time commentary and feedback. So there's the live stream of comments on the YouTube page, but they then pull interesting comments or comments from somebody famous, Aaron Cormican or whatever, and they put it up in text on the screen and respond to it in real time. And what that did for me was it felt like what the commentators are viewing is the same thing that I am viewing, and that all of us, the vast majority of the audience, is having the same exact experience as those on the sofa providing it to us. Whereas, and that sounds normal and simple, but it's in complete juxtaposition to the WSL, where I feel like they are in an ivory tower experiencing something very, very different than the vast viewing public, and the judges are as well. And so when we see somebody bog a rail or puss out at Chopu, Felipe Toledo, and they don't comment on it, or when Eric Logan gets fired at an event, we all talk about it, and then we go watch the broadcast the next day and they don't talk about it, it does feel like here's the Wizard of Oz sitting in the ivory tower pretending that this is something that we clearly see that it isn't, and the wrong surfers are winning heats and all that sort of stuff. It really distances the audience from what they're providing. The Alani Media crew, on the other hand, it's like watching the show with your buddies. It's all of our commentary that ends up happening after the event, happening in real time while you're watching the event.
Cheers to the Alanis. One thing, too, I guess, to the WSL's credit, or maybe, but they're well aware of this, like being at an event live, and especially if you have some kind of access, right? Like if you're not just standing on the beach, but if you're in the VIP zone and or you're in the athlete zone and all of this kind of stuff, you have a different experience. There is kind of a frisson that I think the World Surf League assumes, or I don't know if they think, but via their broadcast, they act like you're there, like you're getting that experience, and you're not. You're getting a really flat version of this thing. And so it's not fair. Like, maybe it feels good. And I've been to enough surf contests and had enough access to know it feels different when you're in the moment there. The only people who are in the moment there, though, don't matter as far as a broadcast goes. The show is not for them, right? The show is for outside. So if you are unable to take that spice and translate it, then don't deal with it. Then even the commentators and everybody shouldn't be there live. The commentators should be in a sound room watching it on a screen and commenting what they see. That would be a better experience for us. I think Joe and those guys, the boys, they had no handcuffs and there was no like exciting frisson. It was what they always do. They'd bring a couch down to lowers, they set it up, and they talk, right? Yeah. And there's pros in the background. So it's just another day at the office for those boys, which is how it felt. World Surf League, I think they're always, smoking their own supply. And so, and again, that's not how it feels on the back end. Anybody who can go and get that access, I'm sure you can think, wow, look there's Kelly Slater up close and I get to see these things. I get to see the way, I don't know, Idolo screws his fins in or whatever. But again, that doesn't translate back home.
No, it doesn't. Did you have the opportunity to watch the event or watch the warm-up session?
I watched a few minutes. It was the first full day of teaching duty for me yesterday. So gotcha. I was sweating bullets and stressing everything. We got a new couple of 3-year-olds in the homeschool. So
oh my gosh.
Now we're running 10 to 3.
You're just babysitting basically?
It's not babysitting. They're all expected to be ship shape. They're all need
even the
to
3-year-olds?
Oh yeah. There is no quarter.
Do they want to learn about live surfing contests?
I don't. They probably would have yesterday. Their takes would have probably been pretty good. Maybe, I'll put it on. Too bad. Season's over.
Yeah.
Running tomorrow. What did you think about that?
What?
Big rumor. It's running tomorrow.
Okay, good question. I saw your headline on it. Do you want to recite your headline or close to it?
Rumor. The World Surf League set to run finals day on Saturday because they don't want to hit peak hurricane swell, but that's not the real reason. The real reason, and the source, well-placed source, declared they don't want to go toe-to-toe with the NFL, which has its opening day full opening day on Sunday.
I think that's smart. You don't want to go toe-to-toe. However, you should never be making decisions considering that. You want to run in the best surf possible. That should always be the only decision. Now, that being said, there's going to be swell on Saturday, and the very first rule of running an event is you don't walk away from pumping surf.
That's true, and I hear you, but it does seem, for those who like a little conspiracy out there, for those who like a taste of forbidden fruit, Surfline and everybody changed their models kind of overnight to make it look like Saturday is actually going to be the day, where all leading up, it was Sunday, right? And all of this stuff is not an exact science, this prognostication. But them changing it to say Saturday is actually peak day smells a little funny.
So Scott Bass, who has been doing the surf forecasting in San Diego for FM or AM radio or something forever, and actually reads a bunch of different models, the way that he explained it was swell's going to kind of be larger tomorrow, but a better angle on Sunday, potentially, not guaranteed. So really, what's that?
I mean, so it's damned if you do, damned if you don't, is what I hear you saying.
I think
pick a day and run.
I think you're good either way, to be perfectly honest. I think if you wake up tomorrow morning, even if the swell angle's slightly off, it's not wrong for lowers. It's just less than ideal. It's still got tons of south in it. Tomorrow's going to have a little more east. Sunday's going to have more west, and you want southwest.
Here's a question I have for you, David Lee Scales. Stopping professional surfing works best for me midweek. When I can put it on and I have stuff to do, I'm working, doing beach grit, whatever. As long as it's not on a savage day, then I'm good. Any weekday is better. Weekend, less ideal. There's stuff going on. on places, I'm running around, I'm less inclined to sit down in front of the computer and turn it on. Especially, we finally have beautiful weather here in Southern California. The first time summer has hit all summer long. So going in tomorrow and clicking play and watching it, where on a Sunday you think, you got a bunch of people indoors already who are planning to sit around and watch football. Everybody's used to double screening. I wonder if or triple screening, I wonder if your viewer numbers would actually be higher if you ran on NFL opening Sunday.
I think your initial point that you were making actually might be more salient, which is run it midweek.
Yeah.
We are all conditioned to watching surf contests while we're at work. And I agree with you. It's harder to watch on a Saturday or Sunday because you have obligations. You have family obligations and all that sort of stuff. We're all contained and available during the work week. So I think you're right. They would get more views on a Monday through Friday.
I'm leaving right after this podcast to Palm Springs for a wedding. Going to be at the Parker. Beautiful property. Have you ever stayed at the Parker, David?
No.
Skills? Beautiful property. I'm going to be there tomorrow. I will not be inclined to go indoors or even sit poolside and squint at my screen in the sun. Finals day is going to pass me by just purely because I'd rather be doing something else.
Exactly. I wish you were going next weekend. We're going to be out there all next weekend.
Dang it. I was poor planning on the people who are getting married. I should have told them. I should have given them the WSL schedule and said, this finals day window, stay away from it, man.
We'll organize in the future. If you have any friends who are getting married, tell them to reach out to me first, and I'll schedule my vacations around the same time.
Perfect. Thank you.
That would have been good, though, if we were out there at the same time. We could have partied together.
We could have podcasted live from Palm Springs.
Oh, yeah, from the blazing 100-degree heat of Palm Springs.
Yes.
So the reason why I asked if you watched any of the warm-ups was I was going to ask your take on the surfers and if you have any picks that are updated based on the warm-up sessions.
I watched enough clips. I thought Ethan Ewing looked pretty good. I think it's unsustainable. I thought Griffin, in terms of he still says he feels pain, right? And there's no way that he doesn't have a little bit of rust. Because he has not been in the water as much as the other guys have. So, but I thought Ethan looked surprisingly good. Griffin I thought looked really, really sharp, but not sharp enough to beat Felipe Toledo twice, which will be the lift. I mean, Griffin's going to have to beat whoever comes up against him, whoever gets up to the second slot. So Griffin's going to have that surf, has to win that, and then if he does, beat Toledo twice.
It sounds like a lot, but it's nothing compared to the amount of surfing that Griffin would normally do at a day at Lowers. I think that kid could put in 6 and 8 hour sessions and still be looking fresh.
No, him sitting second is easy. He's gonna the first one if he wins gonna be a warm up. But just beating Felipe twice is that to me is almost impossible out there. If it was Chopu, then it would be the easiest thing ever. But at Lowers and what Felipe has in his bag. And again, not just yesterday, but the clips I've seen from Felipe throughout the week has been, he looks absolutely sharp and ready to go.
Yeah, it's all the smart money would be on Felipe. No question about it. You're right. All that being said, I'm betting on Griffin.
You're betting. Are you going? Griffin's got the hometown behind him. I was shocked yesterday driving up real early. And it's funny. People, I wrote about this on Beach Crit too, about how San Clemente has just turned its collective back on Felipe, who, do you know how long Felipe Toledo has lived in San Clemente?
8 years.
A whole decade, David Lee Scales. He moved the family out, he moved the family out in 2014. The entire family. Didn't just move himself. Packed up daddy, packed up, I think, either his wife or girlfriend or whatever she was then. Now she's his wife. He has kids who I'm assuming were born in San Clemente. He is a San Clemente transplant. And let's be honest, this is Southern California we're talking about here. This is not I go 3 generations back to blah de blah, right? Southern California, everyone's a blow-in, more or less. And so you have a guy who blew in probably a lot later than other blow-ins, but not one even mention of Felipe as a local boy driving up the 5 North. There's a huge banner across the 5 that says Griff for world champ.
Who sponsored that banner?
Is it
just like a handmade one from fans?
No, it looks pretty professional. I'm sure Billabong paid for it, but it looks also could be a local, committee getting on it, because
Gotcha.
Hurley could just as easily do a big banner and cover the next overpass or pedestrian pass, except I'm sure people would rip it down.
True. Quicksilver, not Billabong anymore for Griff.
Oh, sorry, Quicksilver. Same diff. Potatoes.
That being said, just wait till the day of. Brazilian fans tend to show up out of the woodwork and overwhelm any other patriotism that exists in the homeland. So I feel like it might be different on the day of.
I don't know. Biolas and other notable San Clementines, including Calohandino, have been calling like really active call to muster the troops of, we know the Brazilians are going to be down there. Yeah. We got our boy Griff. Go cheer him on without, and imagine this. Imagine you're Felipe. You abandoned Brazil, right? Fair enough. But Brazil has essentially abandoned you. The fans on the beach will be cheering for Joao. He is the Brazilian fan favorite. When it gets up to Griff versus Felipe, if Griff, wins his number 2 heat, I think you're going to have kind of Brazilian go Felipe, but it's not going to be fiery. Like, he is not their favorite surfer.
The other thing is we've already seen him win out there, and we know what he can do. We kind of have high expectation for him. So whenever that momentum is in place, it creates an opportunity for something fresh to really dazzle everybody. And so I think that's the other thing that Felipe is really contending against here is himself and his past performances.
But did you hear or read about Papa Toledo setting up a tent right near the judging tower and packing it full? You didn't read this?
No.
Oh, yeah. He said he is going to put a tent, because I'm sure he's thinking the same thing, right? I'm sure he's thinking, you are going to judge Felipe against what you think Felipe can do, and there's going to be a lot of local pressure to push Griff. Just so you know, I'm putting a tent here and packing it full, and we're going to keep our eye on you, more or less.
Fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Ricardo with the mafia move.
I love him as a father, by the way.
Sure. He's the father you'd want.
When you look at Gabriel Medina's dad, always felt like a little too, I don't know what.
Charlie, you mean? His stepdad?
Yeah, his stepdad, Charlie.
Yeah.
It always felt like the soccer dad who is being a little too aggressive with the athlete or with his own children and with the judges and all that sort of stuff. Ricardinho, on the other hand, just feels like the ultimate supporter.
Yeah, he's like, he is his boy come hell or high water, exactly as he should be as a father. Yeah. And so I'll be curious though on this note, right? That it seems like there's already room, and who knows if Biolas and Kalohe and all these guys, and all the, what are the 2%?
Yeah.
Who knows if they can actually muster force and an angry force, because
they can.
San Clemente is not a Huntington Beach, right? I think if you put out a call to arms and tinged it slightly xenophobic, are we going to let these foreigners come onto our beach and cheer louder than us? No. You could pretty much guarantee Hell's Angel Huntington Beach folk ready to riot down there, right? Ready to throw down. San Clemente, I don't think you have that same element. And so I'll be curious, though, if there is a sort of tension between we're local, you're foreign to the Brazilians.
A racial tension develops. I mean, it's a fine line to kind of straddle, because you're right. It's very much geographic, patriotic is the lines that we're drawing. However, it's not based on your skin color.
No.
It's based on where you're from and the fact that you're not from here, but not your skin color. That has nothing to do with any of this. It's the fact that you do things differently, and you look different, and you eat different, and you smell different, and you talk different, but not your skin color.
No, the whole thing is so baked in already. And again, if this was Huntington, if finals day was Huntington, then I would imagine there would be people ready to throw down on Brazilians who are getting loud. Right. San Clemente, not so sure. And we'll see. We'll see if there is a race riot on the cobbled stone.
Well, back to the actual surfing. We've criticized the WSL repeatedly and ad nauseum about often the best surfing in the world is not happening on the World Tour. Even in the moment of, while an event is running, there's better surfing happening over here with Nathan Florence. And that's a problem for the WSL that they've created for themselves by not running at the best surf spots in the world, essentially. this is a time where I feel like the best surfing that any of us will ever have seen at Lowers will take place tomorrow during this event.
Yeah.
And even the warm-up sessions, it is the best surfing I've seen. It's better than last year's surfing during the finals day at Lowers. Like these guys specifically. Felipe Toledo, Griffin Colapinto. I mean, the other guys to a lesser degree, but those guys, the way they take off on a set wave, not yesterday, but a couple of days prior when the waves were overhead, they get a set wave, full speed, punt off the first section and clear freaking 20 yards, doing a full rotation, land on the flats into a bottom turn, and then just bingo bango right into the next big blowtail. Like the combination of major maneuvers that those guys are doing flawlessly with zero hiccup in between is unreal. It's like a video game.
I mean, the level of surfing that has risen in the past decade is astonishing. Like, it is a hockey stick of progression, it feels like. It was like, oh, and then people were doing airs and air reverses.
Yeah.
And then it just boom. And we have, what Griff and what Felipe, exactly, specifically. Like, I think you are seeing Ethan out there. He surfs really beautifully, right? Like, I really enjoy watching him surfing, but it doesn't seem like, especially at Lowers, he's going to be able to throw in the, like, kind of wow moment. But man, if he, say, is Joao's fourth, yeah?
I think fifth.
Is he? I was looking at the draw the other day and thinking, who cares? There's zero difference between fourth and fifth, right?
Yeah, basically.
I mean,
because they're both surfing. They're both surfing
the same heat, and so it doesn't matter. Which I was thinking they should probably give to make it at least something. They should give the fourth place surfer priority, heat priority right away. Like, because I don't get why. Who cares? Fourth or fifth is kind of silly, or they should just be equal fourth or whatever. But
well, you're right. By the way, Joao is fourth and Jack Robinson is fifth.
Jack is fifth, and so like I'll be curious to see how Joao does, I think. And I think it just doesn't suit Jack, right? Jack is a phenomenal surfer, and a small wave game or, a performance wave game is one of the many, arrows he has in his bag. He can do that. He can do big slabs. He can do, big barreling rides. He can do he can do everything. Unlike, the specialist Felipe, who can do one thing. I think Joao is like Jack, except less of a small wave specialist.
And like the one thing I don't love for Jack about Lowers is he doesn't have the spark that Felipe and Griffin have, and Joao does. But in the warm-up sessions, he just looked inconsistent to me. He would fall on turns. His wave selection was off. So for whatever kind of additional years on tour that Griffin and Felipe have that kind of allowed them to hone the decision making, maybe it is, I think that Joao will get there. He's just not there quite yet. He only has to turn it on, for a couple of heats, so maybe he will figure it out. And he does have a wild card element that could really bode well for him. But I don't see him getting past those two guys that we've been talking about. And Ethan Ewing coming off an injury, that's going to plague him. And even at his best, I think that he doesn't have as many tools as Felipe and Griffin do at Lowers.
So here we go, though. The scenario you paint out. Jack Robinson fifth. Say he beats Joao. Jack Robinson then beats Ewing because Ewing is hurt. So now Jack Robinson fifth has stormed past fourth and third. Will there be a kind of momentum building as Jack goes up, like there was with Steph Gilmore last year? I was there on those hobbled stones last year and watched Steph Gilmore, and while it was horrible for Carissa, an absolute ripoff, watching Steph gather steam and also the crowd on the beach gathering steam for Steph is really something, right? And so Jack then storming in against Griff. Now Griff will be the favorite, but I wonder if I've won two. Let's get another one. And if Jack can't get himself on a roll there and become a big old spoiler.
It'd be quite the story if he did. I don't see Griff slipping up.
Yeah.
Griff is just so dependable and steely, and not just at lowers. I mean, he is in general in competition, but at lowers, I don't see him slipping up at all. So I really feel like, despite Felipe's kind of proven track record and it being his on paper, I think Griff might have just enough magic going on in this moment for him to capitalize. And not to throw shade on him, but I don't know that he would be in position to win a world title under any other circumstance other than this kind of other than this final, and Felipe, to be honest, than this finals day format at lowers.
I mean, I think Griff's got a title in his future. I think he's a far better, more well-rounded surfer, obviously, than Felipe. I think as long as it ends in at trestles or at some small progressive wave, Felipe is going to be really hard to knock off. Felipe is good enough throughout the year on tour. He can erase Chopu. He can erase any big scary wave, essentially, because there's not that many of them. And so even say if like Margaret River one year is pumping and they throw it at the box, he can sit that one out. He can sit out Tirahopu and still have enough points to be in the final five. And then you take Felipe final five to a progressive wave or high performance wave. Like, I think it's his for the losing.
Yeah, it is. What about on the women's side?
I mean, I want redemption for Carissa, to be honest. That's the only, like, I'm excited to see actually, like, this batch of, like, Molly Picklum and, what's her name? Katie. Caitlin Simmers are exciting surfers. I think at the year's end, when we look back and think about the year, one of the most exciting bits of this year was watching them surf Chopu. Like, that was watching the learning curve, boom, stretch way out, right? Them getting barrels, them charging way harder than Felipe, like, was something that I think that was a real watershed moment that when we look back on this year, will be like a standout moment. And so I think for them, I'm excited to see them in finals day, but really what I'm mostly excited about is hopefully Carissa Moore shedding those dang demons and claiming her rightful, what number is it going to be? 5, 6?
Maybe 6.
6, yeah, and then it's a bummer. She should have 7, right? She should have 7. Last year was such a ripoff.
So watching, Carissa's the most complete female surfer on the planet, has been for some time. But watching her in the warm-up sessions, she looked predictable and uninspired to me. And predictable because, of course, we've seen her surf there a bunch, but uninspired in that it's the same surfing we've seen before. Probably goes in line with the predictable thing. Caitlin Simmers would get up on a wave, and it was thrilling to watch, you know? And she did one in the couch surfing warm-up session. She did one big rail turn that she just held it longer than she needed to and probably ruined the opportunity to combo up the next 2 or 3 sections. But it was so sick, you know? And maybe she won't do that during a comp because she'll want the combo. But watching her go for that and just express herself and do something that I haven't seen any of the other women do was freaking refreshing, you know?
Well, and Caitlin being from right down the road in Oceanside, she'll definitely have a bunch of support, and she surfed that wave, I'm sure, more than any of the girls in the draw. And yeah, it'll be fun. And again, to the WSL's credit, finals day, I don't like it crowning the champion, but I like it as a concept. I like 5 men and 5 women, and I like seeing them go in this format, right? Again, I think it's completely unfair and stupid to the idea of having a tour all year to lead to lower trestles. Is pointless. But as a standalone, like, I don't know, like, I feel soccer and other sports have these like mini tournament, in-season tournament kind of things where it's fun, right? It's like, you're not the champion, but you are the champion of lower trestles, which is, you know, that's what we're going to see tomorrow. Unfortunately, it's just going to also crown the world champion.
Well, to your point, look at all the talking points that we have. We can assess matchups in advance and think them through and really plot and strategize and get invested in it. And in a normal contest structure, it's just way too diluted to really figure out what's going on until you're in the moment. And so the buildup is it's diluted.
I mean, there's no build up for a typical. I think it's impossible to build up a typical contest unless guarantee you're getting pumping swell and then you focus on certain storylines like
Right.
Chopu and okay, is a local wild card going to really wreak havoc this year, or a pipeline? You know, again, same thing. Is a local wild card, or who do we have here? You know, but without good surf and with a bloated field, it's really hard to pump anything at all.
Yeah, agreed. Well, we'll be watching. I'm excited to watch it. Yeah, we'll recap it next week. We'll have all of the results will be in.
I'm excited to hear about it for the first time next week, since I'll be poolside in
Right.
Palm Springs.
Yeah, don't get bothered by this. The other news story that I haven't seen anybody cover this week is Surfline CEO has left the building. We
Ross
talked
Garrett.
and Ross Garrett has replaced him. So we've talked about a month ago, there was a big bloodletting and people were laid off all over the world that work for Surfline. Well, just this week, I think 3 days ago, Kyle Laughlin, who had only been CEO for 2 years, he came from Disney. He was part of a total revamping and a $30 million cash infusion from the Churnin Group, whose specialty is kind of buoying subscription-based businesses and helping them kind of grow to the next level. And so they brought him in to help execute those goals. He left on Thursday this week or Wednesday this week. And what does that say to you, Chaz Smith?
It says, per the other rumors, Beach Grit has been printing on Surfline, is that Churnin has kicked the tires. They are ruthless, right? Churnin Group is no Dirk Ziff. They're not doing this as a somewhat charity that they got pushed into and don't really like, right? They liked what they saw through Surfline. I think now kicked them the 30 million, right? Yeah, 30 million bucks. Realized that the only thing that people subscribe for really is the cameras, and so let's cut everything. We're cutting everything. We're cutting reports, or personalized reports. There'll still be generic regional reports. Cutting everything that doesn't have to do with cameras. And to me, Ross Garrett, love him. I've known Ross forever, and Ross is great. But Ross feels like a steward CEO, right? Of taking the reins. There's no visionary. Ross was at Surfer's Journal for a while. He's been around the magazines for a while. But this feels to me like, again, paring down everything at Surfline except for cameras, squeezing as much profit as they can out of the cameras. That's it. They're camera
Interesting.
business.
Well, what's interesting is that they wouldn't replace Kyle with another visionary. Like, to just have one roll of the dice with Kyle and then assess what Kyle did and think, well, we failed at that. Let's just go back to not even the drawing board. Let's just go back to the previous model and put somebody in place to execute the previous model, and we'll just hope that becomes profitable. Seems bizarre to me. You would think that they would have another roll at the dice.
I think
Take a big
they
swing.
realized, my assessment is that there's no more subscriptions to be had in the US. They have tapped out. They have max subscription. Everybody today, there's no more getting people to subscribe to Surfline. The reason people subscribe to Surfline is the cams. It's not for the commentary. It's not for stories. It's not for video. It's not for anything else. It's only for the cameras. It's not even for the forecast, really, right? It's for the camera. And so let's cut every bit of cost we have and make this thing a little profit center that just ticks along, make it profit because we don't pay much and we're not having anything excessive.
I think it's a missed opportunity for them. I think that there is total opportunity to do what they originally planned on doing and get more subscriptions or additional revenue sources aside from subscriptions. If you look at the way that they've executed business with their other investments, Meat Eater was one of them. I feel like Barstool Sports was one of them. They have done a phenomenal job at accessing people who are not a part of that core culture, me being one of them in both those cases. I'm not a hunter, but through their kind of infusion into Meat Eater, I followed it. I'm now tracking the storylines. They're generating all this additional content that Steve Ranella wasn't able to generate on his own before. He needed a team of not only content creators behind him, but marketers to then spread that information to me. And I feel like surfing is interesting enough and aspirational enough and beautiful enough to look at for non-surfers, Surfline was the best positioned entity in all of surfing to be able to convert into that new user base. So I think it was just, the intel that we got about why Kyle is no longer CEO was part of his vision was incorporating wave pools and doing Surfline events in wave pools and all that sort of stuff, which the higher ups decided was in stark contrast to their core business, which is the cameras and the ocean and forecasting and all that sort of stuff. So they just kind of realized it was a different vision than theirs. They're right. Kyle's vision might have been wrong, but I think that there is a vision that aligns with them or with theirs that then is beautiful to the non-surfer and would convert them.
I mean, I also think that, again, I think Chernin, they're smart guys. They're, bean counters par excellence. And so looked at various models and decided that, nope, none of it makes sense. The only thing that makes sense for us to do is cut cost, and raise subscription probably, right? Because they have squished anybody else in the room. They bought everybody, or there's no other. So they have a monopoly on cameras, which Chernin sees and just says, cut cost, raise subscription. There we go. People will stick on because there's no other place for anybody to go. Anybody who wants to look at a wave, and we know all these people do. We're looking at the data, so they don't care. And I think but yeah, I mean, I agree. Nobody was positioned better to do like surf contests than Surfline. To do to host a Rebel tour. They have infrastructure. They have cameras. They have the website. They have everything. Look at how couch surfing went. You could do a version of couch surfing on Surfline where you take it was 5 surfers men, 5 surfers women, throw them in the water, you have a contest.
Totally. And they could do it around the world all the time at any given swell.
Which that's what I'm curious about. I mean, I know that they bought Magic Seaweed and all that, and I know that raising or getting more subscribers around the world was important, but America must be the only market that matters for them really at the end of the day, and capping out here and realizing there's no more subscribers to be had. Yeah, that's it. That's a wrap.
Bummer. I'm interested to see if there's a chapter 3 that develops in the next 6 months.
We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. Well, moving on from that, Sunbum, Trust in Us, presented by Sunbum. Listeners constantly ask for our opinions, rely on us, and we're happy to share our opinions with them. But who do we trust in for our own well-being and our own protection against the sun, Chaz?
I'm going to Palm Springs tomorrow, David Lee Scales. Maybe you have heard, maybe you haven't. I'm going. I am packing 90% of my bag is Sunbum sun products. The other 10% is 1 pair of swim trunks.
Perfect.
Yep.
So whatever the Sunbum doesn't cover, the swim trunks do.
That's it. That's all I need. Fully covered.
Fully covered. Go to sunbum.com. They've also got merch. T-shirts that just dropped, hats that just dropped. Use Surf Splendor 15 to save 15% off your order, or pay full pop and just grab it everywhere. I mean, I see Sunbum in hotels, gift shops. I see it at Target. I see it at CVS. Local surf shops. All the best local surf shops carry Sunbum. It's because it's the best product out there.
I mean, it's the only sunscreen. Sunbum is the Surfline of sunscreen.
Exactly.
Squished all the competition. There's nobody else.
Nope.
Thankfully, Sunbum's good.
Sunbum, and by the way, one Evan Slater just made the shift. He's at Sunbum now.
Yes! I'm so happy about that.
As part of the board riders kind of fallout, obviously Billabong, he was at Billabong previously. He's at Sunbum now.
Evan Slater is honestly one of my very favorite people in the entire space.
Welcome to the show, Evan. All right, Sunbum, thank you. This is from a listener asking us for advice. Jimmy Buffett. Mad respect for the man who lived life on his terms, created an entire lifestyle for people to emulate, and almost a genre of music unto itself. But, do we actually like his music? Is he a great musician? Or is his music simply a lullaby for when you're 2 margaritas deep, basking in the sun, and are primed to embrace any easy delight that wafts your way? In other words, does anyone play Jimmy Buffett when they're at home or in any, everyday environment? That said, rest in peace, Jimmy, and I'd prefer to remain anonymous.
Yep. as you should, because hating on Jimmy Buffett right now is not chill. But don't worry, I am here. Just like Sunscreen, Sunbum Sunscreen takes the beating of the sun's rays and protects the wearer, I'm going to protect you. Jimmy Buffett is a horrible musician. He sucked. Every one of his songs is terrible. It's unlistenable garbage. It is like, I feel what Jimmy Buffett is, rest in peace, is a like kind of hippie guy who had like revolutionary hippie dreams, got a little older, and said, uh-oh, hippie stuff, that doesn't work. I want to make some money. I'm good at business. I'm going to make a business. I'm going to make one crappy song and turn it into $1 billion business and all this kind of stuff. And then other hippies said, you know what? We don't like pain and discomfort too. We're going to put on colorful hats and call ourselves parrot heads and go where you go. And we're going to follow you. So I feel Jimmy Buffett is totally to blame for baby boomers sucking and becoming suck. Thank you, Jimmy Buffett. Rest in peace. That aside, I do think that Jimmy Buffett, as a kind of person, poet laureate, we'll say, not his music, nothing he wrote, nothing he said, but his vibe is valuable. He was culturally valuable as a vibe, I think. Sailing around, kicking around Key West, taking it easy, you know, being by the beach, doing beach stuff, like all of that. Jimmy Buffett lifestyle, great. Jimmy Buffett's music, crap. People who are super into Jimmy Buffett, grow up, losers.
Mad respect for the man himself, but in the way that we respect Kim Kardashian or maybe Kris Jenner or whatever it is, where it's like,
You did it.
It's like, wow, you guys are the savviest people on the planet, because there's fewer with less talent there's zero with less talent who have done more.
I mean,
right?
And
Jimmy Buffett, I'll give it to him. I'm going to not fully back your, I agree, he's not a great musician, probably, like very, very basic guitar skills, but good songwriter. Like, I think.
Was he?
Well, I don't know, but
Take me away again to Margaritaville, looking for my lost shaker of salt.
Come Monday is solid. A Pirate Looks at 40, solid. Mm-hmm. You know, so I'm just saying, we can agree, maybe there's something there as a songwriter, whatever, there's a modicum of talent, but to do what he did with that talent and create the entire genre is incredibly respectable. And I also love a man who lives life on his terms. And it's like, to think, I do want to just drink margaritas, smoke weed, and play guitar and not have to wear a suit and tie. How do I do that? Well, everybody wants to do that. So I need to become the icon of doing that. And enough people will rally behind me, call themselves parrot heads. And all I got to do is get them to believe in the dream. It basically is I'm going to fake it until I make it, and they're going to believe in the dream. And that is what that man did. And it is admirable.
I hear you. And I'm sure Jimmy Buffett, by all accounts, was like a wonderful dude, right?
Totally.
He seems like he was
Everybody
a great guy. Never met him, but he seemed like he actually was nice, cool to the fans, you know, just a chill bro hanging out, and blah, 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 blah. And he even said, I'm a horrible, I don't know if he called himself a horrible musician, but he claimed I'm not talented as a musician. What I was good at was business, right? And so he turned Margaritaville into, again, $1 billion empire of restaurants and cruise ships and all kinds of stuff, like the branding of Margaritaville, which, yeah, again, huge props. And Jimmy Buffett as a icon of that, good job. Jimmy Buffett as an icon of hippies selling out, but doing it really lazy, good job.
What do you think his net worth is?
I'm going to go with $750 million.
1 billion.
Yeah, I mean, I knew that Margaritaville was worth $1 billion itself. And yeah, I mean, yeah, get on it. Yes,
that is incredible.
You didn't know that?
I didn't know. $1 billion? No, I had no idea it was $1 billion.
$1 billion with an M.
I would have guessed 300 million, maybe quarter of a million.
No, but it's not on song. I mean, I'm sure his record sales and whatever are fine, but it's that Margaritaville license. That thing got put everywhere.
Man, smart.
Yep.
People make money on alcohol.
People make money on alcohol and make money on places that people drink alcohol and things associated with alcohol.
But when you look at like celebrities who had like some C-list kind of Bethany Frankel or whatever it is, you know, just like not even top level housewife, maybe mid-tier housewife, maybe low-tier housewife, but made a drink and then sold the drink and now is richer than all the housewives, or Adam Carolla with the Mangria thing. That's where they're making the money.
Or look at George Clooney and what's his dude, Randy Gerber. I can't remember how much they made from Casamigos, but it is so insanely much. I think it like by far buries every one of Clooney's movies in terms of the money he made from a fake white man tequila.
Yeah. I mean, I think I would have to look it up, but was it $500 million, like $500 million or something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so people like alcohol. That is where we're going to get rich. This is what we need to consider.
Okay, the grit. What is the grits drink?
Well, I mean, your vodka and cocoa thing, I feel like has already branded us to a degree. I've got a red wine fetish that we can incorporate somehow.
Okay.
Maybe we mix the two.
We got to figure it out. We've got to figure this out because, or is there a drink out there? Because Jimmy Buffett didn't invent margaritas. He just took margarita and made it like his own, basically. And so, I mean, we need to find a popular drink that has been and something that you can drink a few of and be seen as having a good time. Maybe like the Moscow Mule. I think even because it's named Moscow too, I feel that the stock is low on the Moscow Mule right now due to wars in Ukraine, and I feel we could do something with the Moscow Mule.
I do too.
Copper cup and whatnot.
Yep.
Because the margarita, it's about the cup, it's about the salt, it's about the accoutrement. Moscow Mule, you have the copper cup, you have a good time you drink, and it like margarita, it straddles both like girl party and frat party.
Yep.
Like we're out for our bridal shower, margarita time, but dudes don't ever feel bad being like margarita time, bro. Like
it's gender neutral.
Moscow Mule.
You nailed it. This is the drink this is the moment of that drink that we can get in and buy it cheap and rebrand it.
Okay, we're doing it. We need to start producing copper cups.
All right. Copper cups and batches, massive batches.
Good.
I know you got to get going in 1 minute. Can we go to break and do barrel or nah real quick?
Let's do it.
All right. All right, Chad Smith, we're back from break.
Great. Speed barrel or nah.
Speed barrel or nah. Brought to you by Mule, mulesurf.com. Of course, we love Mule. They support us, and they should be your wetsuit of choice. Let's see. First barrel or nah coming in. Oh, setting your clock 5 minutes early to make sure that you are on time.
Barrel. It is a barrel. I think it's a great idea. Not just, if you need that to actually make sure you're on time, then you're a late person, and so don't bother, right? Just be a late person. People who are late people, I'm cool with it, right? Are you cool with it?
Sure. I know who they are in my life, and I've accepted it, and I make exception.
And exactly. So if you're going to be a late person, be a consistently late person. It's cool. Like, on time people will adjust to you, right? On time people, because clearly time doesn't care, or you don't care about time if you're a late person. That's fine. That's your prerogative. A person who cares about time, though, does care about time, and so they will adjust their time for you, right?
Yes.
Like, I am a stupidly on-time person. I feel so much, I don't feel anxiety in my life other than if I'm late or if I'm running behind. It's just like causes me mass stress. So, all to say, when I'm setting my Wear watch, I never have this problem with, but with the Rolex, for example, it'll start losing time, a month, it'll be like 5 minutes behind. So I'll always set it 10 minutes ahead or 5 minutes ahead and then just like slowly go back. So I'll regularly set ahead. You
being on time is off-brand for you.
It's really off-brand. It's really weird.
People, if they had to bet, 99.9% of listeners would bet that you're running late perpetually.
Yeah, no, I'm prepared always. I'm like not prepared mentally or in any other way, but prepared physically. I wonder if being on time is what separates me from Jimmy Buffett. If I was late, if I would have made an empire of like slacker stuff.
I mean, you could have leaned in extra hard and branded it your own. That's for sure. Yeah. Well, I'm going no barrel on this. I don't understand people who think that they're tricking themselves by setting their clock fast. Are you dumb enough to forget that you set your clock in advance? All that you're doing is more mental gymnastics to go, oh, it's not 9:05. It's only 9 because I set my watch or my clock fast to 9:05. So I still actually have those 5 minutes grace period. You're just complicating everything. Just set it on Greenwich Mean Time or whatever it is and forget about it. Go off your iPhone. You know what I mean?
I hear you. But anytime though I see a late clock, and I guess that's it for me. Better setting it early than having it be late, because a late clock will screw you.
Okay. All right. Well, in the sake of time, we will move on to number 2, which comes in from a listener.
Hey, Chaz and David, this is for the grit, barrel or nah. I don't know if you guys have done bumper stickers, but this is the proud of, like, proud that my kid went to USF. So stupid, right? Like, yeah, you're proud that you sent your kid off to college to party for 4 years, probably not getting a degree, maybe, or won't get a job even if they do get a degree. It's nonsense. But my thinking was maybe the grit should sponsor a proud of Dave Prodan for ruining surfing. Because we are proud, Dave. You're doing a great job just running this thing off into the ditch. All right, boys, keep up the work. Cheers.
Love it.
What about is it barrel or not to put a proud of sticker on your car?
I'm going to say it depends on what you are proud of, right? Like if you're proud of my Harvard doctorate or proud of my something that's actually difficult to get, I'm going to say it's a weird flex, but I'd be proud of that too, right? Like when I'm driving down the street and I'm judging people by their bumper stickers, when I see the proud of, exactly what if I see, proud of my USF grad, exactly like he says, USF, you went to University of Southern Florida, and what? Like, what's there to be proud of? So if it's something that's not pride worthy, I'll always like shake an internal head. But if it's something that I think, oh, I'll be proud of that too, man, then I give them an internal thumbs up.
The vast majority that I see are honor roll student of the month or whatever. Like their kid was the honor roll student at the elementary school. And I'm like, well, the elementary school printed 300 of those stickers and they're everywhere. So it's not actually that unique or hard to do.
Except you're putting that on for your kid, right? Your kid brings it home and is like, put it on the car, and is hyped. And then you say like, yep, and there you go on the car, right? Nobody thinks yes on that one, I don't think. The one that makes me mad is the one who thinks they're sending that one up by being ironic with the my dog or whatever is smarter than your honor roll student. Which I'm like, okay, come on. This joke was tired like 10 years ago, if not longer. And the bumper sticker on the car, at least, I know it's some 9 times out of 10, I guarantee it's some doe-eyed little kid bringing that sticker up to parent and being really proud, and parent putting on the car. The person who got the dog one went out and bought it. And thought, I'm showing everybody up, man. This is so funny. This is cool.
The more we talk about it, the more I'm thinking no barrel on all bumper stickers.
I mean, that's the best, though. I want everybody to do bumper stickers. Like, it's the way I get to judge people.
Yeah, that's true.
I was literally in the car yesterday, made a bad decision for day 1 of school. It was in Bel Air, California. So left here, drove up, and drove back. Both in thick rush hour. I was 6 hours on the freeway. I don't know what I would have done without bumper stickers.
That is brutal, dude.
It was brutal.
That's insane. Yeah, I'm going no barrel. And by the way, for anybody who's proud of their own achievement and putting it on their bumper sticker, you should be embarrassed. And whatever pride you felt is now erased by shame. I don't care if I got an MD from Harvard. I don't think I'd even put the diploma up on my wall. You know what I mean? Like there's a quiet pride that I would feel, and in knowing my accomplishment and then earning based on that accomplishment, I'd be proud of. But I don't need to show that off to anybody.
If I was Mark Zuckerberg, though, I would put a bumper sticker on my floating MMA mat that would says, "I'm proud of being Mark Zuckerberg."
We gotta do a lot. We could do a whole show on Zuckerberg and his headlines in the last couple of weeks. They've been in my notes. I just scanned past them when we're running out of time, but we'll put it together into a solid show.
Great,
all right, final barrel or nah, which needs more time than we have to fully unpack. Buying a house where someone was killed.
Yeah, I'm gonna go barrel, David Lee Scales. I'm going barrel. I am not a what's the word I'm looking for here?
Superstitious.
Superstitious, man. It's unfortunate somebody died there, but here we go. Move over. Coming in.
It's an opportunity.
opportunity. It's just
It's
like
an
Moscow
economic opportunity. I feel the exact same way as you. I see this as all I don't know, archaic thinkers who do have your beliefs based in superstition that think some ghost is going to haunt you have driven the price down probably 20%. I can't afford to live in a beach community in Southern California unless somebody's been murdered in that house. This is an opportunity for David Scales to have some oceanfront property.
Exactly. It's so true. It is so true. I think it is a huge barrel. And if your house is haunted, upside there too. You go on those ghost hunter shows, you like invite people in, run some tours, like somebody dead in a house besides the dead person is a win-win all around.
Rarely can they actually cause harm. You don't hear stories of I woke up with my arm I woke up with my arm broken or my face had a laceration on it from the ghost last night. At most, you're going to get a gentle caress, which I'm down with. If I'm asleep and I get a gentle caress from an disembodied former house tenant, I'm kind of down with it.
A little bit of hair standing up on end.
I like it.
Not a bad thing.
It's ticklish, kind of feels good. I'm into it. And it's not
at the movies. People go to horror movies. Pay good money for this.
Exactly.
You can pay less good money and live it.
I agree. Can't even call it cheating, to be honest.
No.
Caressed by a ghost?
No.
Becomes a sellable story.
I mean, love it. Ian, Barrel.
Buying a house where someone was murdered. I'm not condoning murder or anything like that. However,
if murder happens.
If it happens to happen and it happens to benefit one David Scales, I'm not going to be mad about it.
I'm going to be right there.
All right. Well, hey, thank you, listeners. Enjoy finals day. Chaz, I know you got to run, so we'll rush through it. Beachgrit.com, @surfjournalist, @surfsplendor. Thank you for your support. Buell Surf, drinkag1.com/surf, and Sunbum. All right, until next week.
Bon voyage.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, David.